What's going on, Colts Nation? I'm Lawrence Owen. This is Colts Law. I am joined right off the bat with my co-host, Colts Loyalist, and of course, my boy down here, Lucas. What's going on, guys?
How you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you, Lawrence?
Well, right before I hit go live, I was kind of like, oh, I'm so tired. I want to go to bed. I got so much stuff to do. I've already done so much stuff today. But you know what? As soon as I hit live, I don't know what it is. I just perk up and I'm like, woohoo, ready to talk Colts. You know, it's weird like that. I don't know. But today's stream is a specialty. It's not. I'm not just. We're not just talking about what the Colts are going to look like this year. Oh my God, Julio is on the Titans, or some crap like that. No, 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 no. Right? Today is about giving and showing the respect that a specific person in the Indianapolis community deserves. Okay? Today is about Jim Irsay, the owner of the franchise, the guy who not only runs the organization, but has shown over the years that he has been here that he cares not only about football, the organization, and the community around it as well, including the fans of the team that he owns. So I am incredibly happy that you guys are here to join me. We may have other people join. I don't know. There is a link in the live chat currently. If you are a general supporter of mine, I know who you are. I see you all the time. You want to join the stream, click that StreamYard link. You're welcome to come in. Just make sure you have the name that you generally have on YouTube so I know it's you. Don't walk in going, well, I'm John Smith, because I don't know any John Smiths from the YouTube that follow me, and I'm not going to take the chance of you just jumping on here and mooning everybody. Okay? So Lucas, I'm gonna give you first run on this because I've got a million things I could say about Jim Irsay and why I appreciate him so much. Obviously, you've joined to give your appreciation as well. What are some things about Jim Irsay that makes you happy that he is the owner of the Indianapolis Colts?
Well, Jim Irsay has made his name with the Colts organization, not just with his philanthropy to the city, which he has had many, many endeavors to, including most recently the Kicking the Stigma initiative that him and the Colts have done this past offseason. But he's also done so much else for the city. But what really stands out to me the most about Jim Irsay is that he's probably one of the more approachable owners in the NFL. He's constantly on Twitter talking to fans, giving out trivia, trying to give promotions and everything. Always is interacting, a very positive force in the fandom. He's like, honestly, whenever I talk about Jim Irsay, I kind of feel prideful that he is the Colts owner instead of some of the other owners out there who might be a little bit more distant or a little bit more standoffish with the media or with fans, or just don't interact with them as much, or let alone some of them that fans might not be appreciative of at all. Looking at Dan Snyder. But honestly, I'm very thankful that we have Jim Irsay running the team, and he's been a wonderful influence for not just me and Colts Nation, but just for the city in general.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with every sentiment you just put out there. Loyalist, what are some thoughts about Jim Irsay that you had that you wanted to share off when I announced that I was going to do this stream today?
Well, the first thing that, like Lucas says, I just love his interaction. I mean, we always talk about the Colts fam, you know what I mean? And Irsay's, I don't want to call him my dad because I'm old, but Irsay's like the uncle that everybody liked, you know what I mean? And you just, I mean, if, like I said, I've been a fan since '84. Everything about his progression through his whole time of being the Colts owner and stuff, it just really shows you that, it's not always roses. Sometimes you go through the tough times, but, he never gave up. He never turned his back on the organization, the community. I mean, he was very public with some of his struggles, which not a whole lot of people do nowadays. So I like that because, like you said, it helps give you that he's a real person. He's not this image that you just associate. And secondly, I mean, for me, I'm a father of 2 kids. I always try to teach my kids. I want to be their role model. I want my wife to be their role model, you know. But no matter what you do, they're going to go out and look for outside sources. And then I look at the organization. I mean, not just the players, but the team, management, the coaches, the front offices, just everybody you ever look that he's brought into this organization has just been top character, top notch. You know, people that you're not going, okay, kids, don't look at what they did. You can look at it with pride, like you said, Lucas, and point to your kids and say, this is what you know, this is something you need to strive for. And I just love that fact. What about you, Lawrence?
Well, there's so much that I could talk about with Jim Irsay that I don't know if we have enough time to talk about all of it. But I'll tell you what. One thing I do have that I absolutely, I mean, yeah, we could talk about all the giveaways that he gives on, you know, Twitter. You know, I mean, like, just what? He just gave away, what, $1,500 plus another $1,500 to the winner choice of their animal shelter, right, this past week.
Yep.
Just pulled that off. That he does that kind of stuff on a weekly basis, right? Little bitty trivia things that makes people go out there and Google stuff so that you learn a little bit more about the team and then get rewarded for learning about the team that you already support anyhow. I mean, come on. What kind of great stuff is that? Also, you talk about the kick the stigma thing and the other stuff that he's had in the past. But let's talk about, you said so earlier, Loyalist, about, you know, he knows football. All right, this is a guy who knows the NFL, the ins and outs of it, not only as a player, I mean, not as a player's perspective, because he hung out with players as a kid growing up, right? I don't know if you guys have heard it, but I know Loyalist has, and most other people probably heard him talking about the story about when he was sitting in the lunchroom, right? And a certain quarterback sat down and said, "Move over, kid," and was talking to him. Yeah, that kind of stuff. He learned about football and how to deal with players just for being in the organization when his dad owned the team, right? He learned under Al Davis on how to run an organization. And he actually honestly cares about the organization, not just because it's a business, not just because he wants to make money from it, but you can see just from his reactions, just, you know, after a game, you know, like after a game, and if they lose, you could just be like, yeah, we lost because of this, and that sucks, and we need to get this addressed, you know, and that kind of stuff. And, you know, Chris Ballard said it best in an interview that he had, you know, talking about how Jim Irsay will sit there and tell you what needs to be fixed, and 99% of the time, dude's right, you know, dude is right, and he's out there looking to do whatever he can to get that accomplished, to put the best product that he can on the field. Not just to save money so that he could pocket some, you know, for a later date. And even though he knows players, he knows the organization, he knows the ins and outs of football, he still lets the guys who he hires do their jobs. That's a big thing. There's a lot of owners out there that actually know football, but sometimes you look at it and go, are they kind of stepping in a little too much, right? Kind of looking at, like, let's say the Cowboys owner, right? You see him stepping in a lot and intervening in things. Now, he does intervene occasionally, every once in a while. Re-signing T.Y. Hilton. He had a hand in getting that done at the last second, right? Drafting Jonathan Taylor. He called up Chris Ballard and was like, look, you like this dude, you love this dude, you want this dude, he's still there, go get him, you know? And Ballard's like, all right, let's make the trade, you know, and went and got him. So, I mean, he will do little things occasionally, not necessarily, you know, stepping in to take charge of a situation, but to remind the guys who he's hired why he hired them, right? So I love the fact that he knows how to balance these situations out, even as an owner. As an owner, he could just be like, screw it, I'm firing everybody, and I'm going to do it all. Now, obviously, I love Jim Irsay, but I don't think that, you know, at his age, he needs to put that kind of responsibility on his table right now. But, you know, maybe 20 years ago, he probably could have done it. I have full faith that he had the smarts to do it. Yeah, there's so much I could sit here and talk about Irsay about, and I'm just a proud fan of the Indianapolis Colts and the fact that I could say Jim Irsay is the owner of that team, and the reason why the Colts are what they are today is because of Jim Irsay.
And the best part for me is how he keeps bringing the players from the pack. He keeps a connection. You know what I mean? It's not like, okay, once you've played for me, you go on, you do your life, and then that's it. You know what I mean? He keeps bringing the history and the experiences and just, like I said, once again, building that family. And it's not just the team that year. You know what I mean? It's like, for example, like Pat McAfee has an amazing opportunity. Okay, well, he needs transportation. He calls the owner, and all of a sudden it's like, you don't even have to, which I know I'm sure was probably a little more intense, but it was like, yeah, use my plane. Go ahead.
Well, you do bring up a good point on, people who leave the Indianapolis Colts generally don't leave with a bad taste in their mouth. Now, it's going to happen occasionally. It's a business, right? But all in all, Peyton Manning, to this day, speaks incredibly highly of Jim Irsay. It's not like the Barry Sanders situation when he retired. He's like, I want nothing to do with the Detroit, front office and ownership and stuff like that because, generally, even though it is a business, he's a guy that the players like. He is there for them. He's kind of a player's owner. He loves just sitting down and talking to guys, and understanding their side of the story and stuff. So I was going to get in here. Gary Thompson says that he'd be joining the stream right now, but he's sitting there on a 65-inch TV watching the stream right now. So appreciate you. Troger says he loves Jim Irsay. Thompson says that Irsay deserves this. What we're talking about. One of the only owners I would like to hang out with, Lucas, Loyalist. If Jim Irsay was like, hey, I'm not going to do this in my press box. I'm going to hang out in my at my house. I'm going to watch this on my TV. You want to come over and watch it with me, hang out and stuff. Would you do that? I mean, would you actually think that would be fun to do? Not just because, I'm going to Jim Irsay's house. But, I mean, do you think it'd be fun to watch a game with Irsay? Do you think he'd be that kind of guy who would be really vocal and that type of supportive of his team? I mean, would this be something that you'd be interested in? Not that I'm saying he's going to, because we all know probably not. But, I mean, to me it seems like that'd be like on one of my top, yes, I would love to do that lists, right? I mean, come on. Lucas, what do you think about?
Well, I'm not betting that scenario will exactly play out. Though if Jim Irsay does happen to watch, I am available on pretty much every single Sunday to do so. So send me a Twitter DM. Yeah, I would absolutely love to do that. That would be phenomenal to hang out with Jim Irsay, talk Colts. I'm sure he'd be very passionate, like getting up and like screaming at his home for better or for worse at the TV.
Right.
And it would be one of those weird situations where you're like, hey, like normally when someone screams at their TV, like for better or for worse about their sports team, like, hey, we have no control over the impact of the game. Wait, he kind of could.
He could make a phone call while we're sitting right here.
Say, Reich, love what you're doing. Keep it up. Run more play action. Hang up.
Loyal.
I think it'd be
in the middle of the game, but sure.
For me, I would have to get there so early. You hear about his house and it's a museum to many different things. And I just have to check. I'd have to be there a couple hours just to get myself grounded again and stuff before the game. But yeah, I'm one of them. I don't know about you, but when I'm watching, they can hear me through the TV, and my kids are like, "Why are you acting like a lunatic?" And it's like, because I know this is helping. But like you said, sitting with him, it's like, you know what? I bet he'd be just as passionate, probably louder than I am. And the thing is, could you imagine the education you'd get just sitting there watching that game with him? He would probably come and tell you stories of stuff that had happened back in the 70s and stuff that relate to every little circumstance, and you'll just be like, I mean, I don't even know if I'd pay attention to the game.
I have a hard enough time, man. I'll sit down with well, they're all past now, but I remember growing up sitting down with my grandparents and them just telling me stories about their past. And these are just average, everyday people stories, that your grandparents would tell you, and you're just kind of stuck there like, man, this is interesting. Most of the time. Some of the times you're just like, But generally, you're like, this is awesome. These are stories about, history. Jim could give you stories that just make you go, dude, I need a beer. Right? I mean,
he's one of the owners you getting a beer with, potentially.
Right?
I mean, I don't know if a beer is exactly his choice of drink, since I think he's living a little bit of a higher quality of life in terms of his beverage choices than us. But I'd get a glass of wine and watch the game with him,
Gary brought up a good point. He gave Edger and James a Super Bowl ring after we won that Super Bowl. He gave him that ring because Edgerrin was part of the reason why they were able to get there in the first place, right? To show his appreciation. Even though Edgerrin wasn't on the team that year, he still did that for his player. And that tells you what kind of person he really is. Not just, to current players and fans and coaches, but, the past. He pays the respects that are due. He does that to a lot. He talks about players and owners and coaches and stuff like that from way back in the day, and gives them their props. And he may not have anything to do with them today, but he still lets people know that he gives respect where respect is due. Let's see here. If you guys are in here watching this, please don't forget to smash the like button, hit subscribe if you're not subscribed, tag that notification bell so you're notified next time I go live. Don't forget to check down here, description of the channel, right? I skipped my intro because it was just too good to let my intro run. But, yeah, there's a link down here for my Patreon. Please go check my Patreon out. It's only $5 a month. You get all of my content plus Patreon-specific content. Don't forget, if you want to use a Super Chat, please use the Super Chat link in the description. I got the little ticker thing going down here at the bottom. And then, of course, my merch shop. Make sure to check out the Colts Law merch shop. The link is in the description of this video. There are a ton of high-quality, reasonably priced items there that you can choose from. And all you got to do is just click one button, and you can go and check out all these great merchandise items. One thing we haven't talked about is the Colts organization is a family-owned and ran thing, right? You had his dad, ran it with Baltimore up into the Indianapolis Times, then Jim took over. When Jim leaves, I'm not sure which one is going to end up taking over, but I'm sure it's staying in the family because, I mean, you got both chair owners, Carly and Kalen. I don't know if it'll be split ownership or single ownership, along with Casey Foyt, but that's another thing that we need to discuss. These are people that are brought up, understands, knows the system, knows the players, actually gets in with the media occasionally, right? And talks with media once in a while and knows everything. And I think that, long term, Jim is building or has built this business / organization to be something that fans of it will be, generations upon enjoying, watching their favorite football team play and be proud of the fact that they are, because Jim's built something great here, So if anyone in here watching wants to say anything or join the stream, like I said, I've got a link in the description. I'll see if I can't pop that sucker in there again. Haven't done that.
Something else I really like is Irsay has just the way. I mean, do you guys remember what it was like when Manning, and it was having the problem with his neck and stuff. And there was a lot of tough decisions that had to be made through that transition. You know what I mean? And I mean, decisions that he's a fan, like we've said. Those decisions had to break his heart. You know what I mean? That had to. I mean, but the thing was he didn't sit there and whine about it, or I mean, you didn't really even hear a whole lot about how hard it was for him until years later. But the fact that, like I said, he didn't sit there and shy away from it. He didn't take the adversity and be like, oh, you know what I mean? And he really did manage to juggle a crazy situation as good as he could. And like you said, he still has a good relationship with Edgerrin and Dallas Clark and people of the past. You know what I mean? And I mean, that can't be easy because, for lack of a better way, Peyton got fired or got, his services were no longer needed type situation. And Irsay would love to have been able to keep him, but with the mess that we were in on our salary cap at that time, there was really no way to have dealt with it, I think, in any better of a way than what he did. And that's just remarkable about how tough a situation is. And he just puts his head down, and just like you hear Ballard say, and you hear our players say, things are tough. You know what? That's all right. And that starts at, with Irsay's, and it just sort of trickles down. And I love that.
Yeah, it's it's easy to be a good owner when things are going well. Mm-hmm. But it's a lot harder to be a good owner when the chips are down and you have to make the very tough decisions and things are not going your way. You don't know exactly what could be the right decision or what could not be the right decision. It isn't quite so obvious. And he's been able to do he's always tried to do the right thing. It might not have always been the right result, but he always tries to do the right thing by his people, by his players, by his fans. Like, for example, what I kind of think of is the Chuck Pagano, Ryan Grigson relationship. That was starting to deteriorate, and most owners would just give up on all of them and start from scratch a lot earlier than what he did, which, for better or for worse, it's up to any person's interpretation. But instead, Irsay tried to kind of counsel them through stuff. He tried to have them work through their relationship and try and remend it and rebuild it so they could go forward better. Did it work out? No. But he wasn't trying to just scrap everything like as soon as the chips are down. He's going to try and work through stuff. Might not always work out, but at the very least, he gives more effort and more care about the team and the people who are running his team than most owners I've seen.
Yeah, even when he finally had to let Grigson go and he hired Ballard, he straight said, I'm going to give Pagano one more season without Grigson, with Ballard under there. See if, that changes something, because he really did, want to be that guy. Andrew Luck retires, right? Everyone's hurt. Everyone's upset. It sucks. Andrew Luck gets hurt or decides to retire. Did Jim Irsay get upset about it and get mad? No. He gave him $24 million and was like, here, happy retirement. It's a wedding gift. Congratulations on a new kid coming up. That's the kind of person Jim Irsay is. And that's why it's why it kind of irks me when you got all these fans of other teams. They come in and all they want to focus on is that mugshot. You know what I'm talking about, right? Mm-hmm. That's the one thing that everyone puts in. And everybody's got a skeleton in their closet somewhere. Yeah. At least Irsay was man enough to step up and say, you know what? I had a problem, and I'm trying to deal with it, and we're going to work through this, right? And that, again, respect. Because you know how difficult it is to admit something like that? I've had people in my family that's had those kind of problems, and to for someone to step up and admit it and then go forth and try to beat that takes a heck of a character to do that.
Yeah, he could have denied all responsibility. He could have tried to fight the suspension. He could have done a whole lot of other things that we've seen some people, whether or not they're NFL owners or not, have done to try and kind of not be held accountable for their actions. But he was man enough, like you said, to say, hey, I made a mistake. I'm going to work through this. He opened up to the media about his struggles with addiction, which that's very relatable to a lot of people, and
Mm-hmm.
it is in fact even a genetic thing potentially for a lot of people. I don't know if it's exactly for him or not, though I do know that Robert Irsay, his dad, did go through some addiction problems previously, so could have been maybe, but irregardless, he didn't blame anyone. He didn't blame anyone except himself, and was willing to try and move forward with a different mindset and change his behavior. And he hasn't had any incidences like that before. From what I've heard, he's been very philanthropic to addiction centers throughout Indianapolis. So he's trying to help other people who went through a similar struggle that he did. So I think for someone to just summarize Jim Irsay's entire legacy based off of that one event is pretty short-sighted, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what we do nowadays. You know, we sit there and we take this little Photoshop of a particular point in time and say, okay, this is what we're going to base our opinion on. And then Irsay, I mean, think about it, guys. The courage, bravery, just the toughness, the grit to be willing to sit there and put his reputation on the line. You know what I mean? And he knows that it's going to cause a problem in the organization. You know, he knows, but it's like, you know, he knows it's the right thing to get it out there, like you said, Lucas, and let's get this thing past. I mean, look at, like I said, with the, you know, he has this way of taking a bad situation and making the best out of it and not complaining about it, not making, you know, a big noise about it. He just always finds a way. I mean, like with Manning and you know, he knew his organization was going to go through a divide. He knew that the old Colts, the Peyton Manning fans, he knew that was going to put a pressure on this team. But he still chose sorry, I get it amped up. He still chose to make the right decision for the team long term, the right decision for the organization. You know what I mean? And you see it, you know, I keep talking about it trickling down. You see what Ballard does. You see in the way he takes his patience to make these choices, whether it's, you know, signing a tackle or getting a tackle in free agency before the draft. You know what I mean? Everything is about patience and about making seriously the best choice long term for the Colts family.
Another thing that I like about him is his positive attitude. Anytime you have an interview with him and someone asks him, well, what's your expectations for this season? It doesn't matter if Peyton Manning just retired and Andrew Luck, you know, you just got the first pick of the NFL draft and 75% of your roster has been turned over. We're going to the playoffs, darn it. You know, he's not that kind of guy who's like, you know what, we're in the middle of a rebuild. It could be 5 or 6 years. No, he's always looking to get to that goal, right? He not only wants a Super Bowl win for himself and his organization, but he knows what it does for the fan base as well. It's that pride thing, and that's what he's fighting for on a constant basis. We talked about it earlier this year, you know, where he's had a couple interviews, including with Pat McAfee, right? And he's talked about, you know, I really believe that Carson Wentz is a great guy, and we're going to end up, you know, making a deep run in the playoffs. And when you listen to the way he talks, and you honestly believe he's not just saying this to try to, you know, sell tickets or whatnot, you know. He honestly believes the things that he's saying. And it's hard not to back someone up when they believe that. And they know, and you know they know the organization and football and everything enough to be able to rate them their own selves, right? He knows the kind of talent that's on the team. And he believes that this is a team that can make a deep playoff run. It's hard to argue with him because the man's been there and done that.
Yeah, I mean, like with, you know, he teaches you how to set goals. You know, most people are like, I want my team to win the Super Bowl. I want my team to win the Super Bowl. What does he say? He wants his team to win multiple Super Bowls. I mean, you know what I mean? He's like, no. I ain't shooting for what the average person will shoot for. And then people are like, oh, he's crazy and stuff. I mean, from what I've seen and the team that we're building, you know, I know it's going to take a lot of pieces and stuff, but I could honestly see this team over the next 10, 15 years or whatever winning so multiple Super Bowls. I mean, he spoke it into existence. I mean, he talked about it, and I mean, now you can start seeing, okay, I can see how this works. I mean, we've got a young team, and just, I mean, everything. I mean, the coaches, everything. Like I said, I've just settled down. I know, but I mean, he just really teaches you the right way to set a goal.
This team reminds me a lot of the 2001 Indianapolis Colts. That Colts team that was incredibly young with a ton of talent across the board. Couple veteran pieces here and there, but just a lot of youth that only been in the league 1, 2, 3 years, maybe 4 at the most, and that if you could just keep those key pieces together, sign those key pieces and keep just replenishing the guys that roll over with good players with the draft, the way they were able to in that season or during those 2 decades, basically, that this team could really do something. And that's kind of what Irsay was shooting for, when he grabbed Andrew Luck and was trying to build that way. But he got sidetracked. It got sidetracked because of the whole, he didn't realize that, I'm not going to throw blame on anybody on this stream. I have before. I'm not going to on this stream. I'm just going to say things didn't go the way he planned and the way that everybody wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Now we had the reset with Chris Ballard and Frank Reich and this whole new regime that's going on. And it's looking better now than what it did back in 2012, 2013, 2014. Even when we were out there going to the playoffs and winning. We haven't even won a playoff game, right? And yet, I feel like we're better off now than what we was in 2013 with Andrew Luck.
The roster is definitely better as a whole than the 2013 roster, without a doubt. The only questions at this point are at a few very key positions, such as left tackle. Will Eric Fisher, bounce back from his Achilles injury? Sounds like the medicals are checking out really well, and he had a very, very good surgeon as well. But we'll see how he does. The biggest one, of course, the biggest question is Carson Wentz, and how will he bounce back? Is it way too early to tell whether or not he's going to be that franchise quarterback or not? Yes. But if he bounces back the way that many will expect him to do, with Frank Reich as his coach and with this much better supporting talent around him, then it is not unfair to kind of start projecting a little bit into the future and say, hey, if he can continue to build upon after this year, there could be multiple Super Bowls in the Colts' future.
Yeah. All right. I didn't want to started to get a little quiet there for a second. I'm sitting here looking at I want to say thanks to Ricky Freezer and LA Rams in here, Gary Thompson, as we already discussed. Inside the Horseshoe, what's up? Appreciate you. Truett Trussler, appreciate you being here. Thanks a lot. And I saw someone earlier. I need to shout him out. Wyatt, what's going on? Appreciate you being here as well. Guys, don't forget to smash that like button. Hit subscribe if you're not subscribed, and tag that notification bell. Man, hitting the like button is I mean, it's a way to really show support, because the more likes a video has, the bigger chance YouTube analytics will show this to other, people, when they log on to YouTube, on their homepage. So, hitting the like button, if you can afford to check out my merch shop or do a donation or join my Patreon, dude, hitting the like is great, and I really appreciate that a lot. LA Rams being in here is interesting. They're another team I think that's really on the rise, especially with some of the it's odd because the Rams are doing things completely different than what the Colts are doing. It's like they're like, here, we're going to trade away all of our first round picks for the guys we want, but it's working. I mean, they got Ramsey. We'll see about Stafford, right? I mean, so we'll see. But to me, I think they're the best team in the NFC this year. Yeah, even over Tampa Bay, and I've gotten a lot of pushback from that, but I still believe that Matthew Stafford really puts him over the edge if he plays the way I think he can. So long term, we'll say over the next 10 years, with what Jim Irsay has built with this team, the people he's got in the front office with his daughters there and everybody else, and Chris Ballard, of course. I think he should be up. I think he's up for a extension too, coming up shortly. Frank Reich, and everything that's going on. Where do you expect the Colts to be in 10 years?
Okay. For me, I mean, that's a really loaded question because I feel like as far as organizationally, I think we'll always be strong. Like we just covered for the last 40 minutes or whatever. This team is designed to weather the storm. This team is designed to go through the roller coaster that's known as life. Okay. But as far as long term, as far as what the team looks like, I mean, we don't even know what it's going to look like in 2 years from now. If Carson Wentz performs, okay, we know what our quarterback is. If Carson Wentz doesn't perform like we all think or whatever, we realize that in 2 years from now, that's going to be a different position, a different setup. Like Lucas was saying earlier, we have a lot, like our offensive line, our defensive line is really strong, but there are some key points, which Ballard and everybody has always said, there's key points where he really wants to get playmakers. Now, the question is, do we have those guys? Is Kwity Paye a playmaker? Is he going to be able to do everything that we hope he can do in the next 2 or 3 years? So like I said, even shorter term in 2 and 3 years. So I couldn't even begin to guess what this team would look like as far as the players go or anything else. But the one thing that I can sit there and say with a clear conscience is whatever it is, it's not going to be that bad unless 10 years from now we go through another transition like we did with Peyton to Andrew. But I mean, even then, we're going to fix it. We're going to, this Colts team is always going to be able year after year to produce a good product that people can, like we said, people can support and put their emotions behind.
What are your thoughts, Lucas?
All right. Well, the 10-year benchmark is a pretty long-term in NFL sense time. I mean, think about 10 years ago with the Colts. That was 2011 season, the suck for luck year, if you will. How many players on that suck for luck year team are still on the Colts? None. The last one was Anthony Costanzo, who just retired. So at this point, I do not know how many of these current Colts will still be there. Maybe Kwity Paye, maybe some of these younger guys, but a lot of these older guys who are still considered younger guys are probably going to be retired or close to retirement at that point. Like Darius Leonard will be 25, 26. Same with Quentin Nelson. The entire offensive line will be very different. But organizationally, I think you could see the same cast of characters still there. It is tough to project at that far ahead, but I do really, really like the chances of Chris Ballard sticking long-term. Reich as well, I believe, is likely going to stick around long-term. I don't know if it's going to be exactly 10 years or not, since he's a little bit older than Chris Ballard. And head coaches tend to have more turnover than GMs in the NFL. But at the same time, I think that the organization is going to be well established enough that they'll be able to go into a new era 10 years from now with completely different cast of characters and still have enough leadership and enough ability to evaluate talent that will be well situated for a new era later on.
Okay, so when I was talking about the 10-year bench, what are we expecting through these next 10 years?
Oh.
And my thought process was that from what I'm seeing, we're going to have key figures stuck. I mean, obviously the quarterback is in question right now, but it looks to me like we're going to have key positions on the offensive line set. We're going to have key linebackers set. We're going to have key safeties set. And there's going to be a rollover, right? The way Ballard has been drafting, he's just going to continue to draft replacement players that are good. And when someone shows up that's, that pops and he's like, obviously we need to keep him, we'll sign him. But I see this team, the way it's built, with or without a Andrew Luck or a Peyton Manning type quarterback. Because, come on, let's face it. A Peyton Manning type quarterback doesn't fall into anyone's lap, right? That's a luck of the draw occasionally. But like every 10 years or something, or even longer than that, for one team in the entire NFL. But I see this as a team that's well built all the way around. Similar to the way, for instance, the Baltimore Ravens has been a team that has been built well year after year for long term, decades now. They've went through times when they didn't have good quarterback play. And won a Super Bowl with a team that did not have good quarterback play, right? And I feel that way with the Colts. I feel like they're a team that over the course of the next 10 years is going to have a lot of winning seasons, a lot of deep playoff runs, and I think that they'll just be an established team. Are they going to be, the franchise of the decade? I can't tell you that. That's something that, currently that's a luck of the draw kind of situation. A lot of things depend upon other things to happen for you to win multiple championships. No, I like where the team is headed, and I like the way it's built to last long term. The way they're bringing in, the way the rollover on the roster and stuff of that nature is carried right now. Truitt says he loves Carly. Ballard's cap approach is sustainable. Draft well and use multiple draft picks. There you go. We got 8 second-round picks from the last 3 years on our team. That's ridiculous. This is flat truth.
Like when Max was telling us, he says the way that this team has been built and stuff. There's an example, okay? Max is a football fan. But the thing was when he was going through and doing his work and learning about how the teams were constructed and stuff, he really found he liked what the Colts were doing. And he even said, he's very interested to see this, but he knows that this is going to be a 3 to 5 year, building project. And he just really likes the way the Colts, like you said, have that sustainable, duplicatable system in place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say the Colts, while I don't think that this same cast of characters will be around for that 10-year span, like I said earlier, over the next 5 years, you're going to see a lot of the same kind of guys still on the team. 7 years, 8 years, that's when you might start to see some guys move on. But I have a lot of confidence in the Colts organization, not just with the Irsays, but with Reich and with Ballard, assuming that they are still in place, which you never know, but I feel very confident that they will be around long term. I'm very confident in their ability to find new talent to kind of replace some of the old guys, like you said, a constant cycle of replenishing through the draft and a little bit through free agency and trades and everything. We're not afraid to explore different avenues, as we've seen recently with Carson Wentz and DeForest Buckner trades.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm very excited to see what this Colts team is going to be able to do over the next 5 to 6 years, which I'd project to be this team's possible ceiling years of the current roster around. You're going to see quite a few playoff seasons. A Super Bowl, maybe 2, could happen, though that is still quite a bit of a projection at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I'll settle for 1,
Mm-hmm.
settling for just one Super Bowl.
There will be
I'm
5 Super Bowls and 32 teams fighting for those 5 Super Bowls over the next 5 years, and we'll just take one. We'll settle for one.
No.
Get our other one.
No, this is where hot takes are rewarded. So
Right.
let's go full on. 5 years, 5 Super Bowls. We break through the record for consecutive Super Bowls made, beating Frank Reich's old Buffalo Bills. And unlike the Bills, we actually win all of them.
There you go. There you go. What's up, Nano505? Appreciate you being here again. I saw you earlier. I didn't know if I shouted you out or not, but if I didn't, I just did. So letting you know that I didn't miss you. And 26 other viewers in this. We've been doing this for 45 minutes. Please don't forget to smash that like button, hit subscribe if you're not subscribed, tag that notification bell so that you're notified next time I go live. If you have any questions or any shout outs to Jim Irsay on why you appreciate him, please feel free, drop that in the live chat. One more thing before I end up going is I want to talk about another thing about Irsay. A lot of owners, billionaires, are known for having some very eccentric hobbies. Irsay's hobby is something you really can't shake a stick at because it's music. He loves music, right? Yes, he owns the rights to certain groups, right, from the past. He owns certain guitars, but that's a hobby that's kind of respectable, That's something that you're like, wow, he owns a piece of history, right? And he's trying to keep it around and protect it, so nothing bad happens to it. I don't know, man. It's just something that I think that is kind of unique and really cool about Irsay, and something that I respect that he does is he has a hobby in that music industry.
Yeah, I like you said, I think and the thing is he's doing things that don't just let it, be his hobby. You know what I mean? He's doing it, collecting things and sharing it with other people so that he can cultivate and get other people to enjoy and find that passion. It's like the Colts or anything else. He doesn't just do it for himself. Okay. He does it to where other people can enjoy it equally. You know what I mean? And I just think that's incredible. I'm not going to lie. Beatles was a little before my time and stuff, you know what I mean? But hey, that's all right. Because of, his interest and stuff, you go and you check out and then you hear songs like Imagine and then he gives you that other stuff that nobody else knows or almost nobody else knows. But because he doesn't just take his fandom to like we said earlier, he doesn't just take it to the 1 Super Bowl level. He takes it to the 3 Super Bowl level to where you find out things that, or things that, maybe would have gotten lost, to history and just time rolling by. But he's sat there and he's done it and protected it and put it out there for the world to enjoy. I just love that.
I agree. Jim Irsay, with his love of music, kind of represents kind of what fandom should be about spreading that joy, spreading that information, trying to give back to the community by kind of giving more information about it and help giving more people an ability to appreciate it. Honestly, Jim Irsay is a nerd. And I love it. And I say nerd not as a slander on him. It's just everyone is a nerd if they are passionate about something. And so in his nerdom, it's his fandom of football, of course, with his influence as an owner and his many years of stories that we've heard, but also of music. And it's a wonderful thing to see. And it's phenomenal to see him spread that to other people throughout the years. And honestly, it's a very relatable kind of feature about him. So hats out to nerd Jim Irsay.
Well, come on. I don't know too many people that when you say, hey, do you like music? And they reply by, nah, man, get that crap away from me. Everybody likes music of one form or another. And the man's got the money to go out there and preserve history of music that he likes. And maybe even music he don't like, he just wants to preserve it anyhow because it's music, And I got to respect the man for that. That's awesome in my opinion.
Lucas also brought up something that I didn't even think of, but it's it's really poignant. Is look at you sit there and you talk about his fandom for football. If you go around, and I bet if you go around and you talk to the Bruce Arians or you talk to the other general managers, I mean, Jim Irsay is really highly regarded by most owners, by most general managers. You know what I mean? That's not common, especially like you said, with people who have gone through the low points and stuff. He's worked all the way past that, you know what I mean? And his peers, the people that he's trying to kick the butt of every Sunday, you know what I mean? They respect the man for the man as well as just for what he's done for the league. And I like you said, you can see, everybody always talks about the coaching tree, He's got his own little tree, you know what I mean? I don't know exactly where and how that falls out, but I mean, the thing is it garners respect no matter what part of the league you're in.
Yep. I think I'm going to end up killing it here. We've been running this for about a little over 50 minutes. Shout out to this dude, Lucas Robbins. It's in the freaking chat, talking to Ricky Freezer. Terrence Gibbons, 33, Robocop 125, Sissy Stiddy, Teddy Belcher, what up? Matthew Stansberry, Dabney Offerman. Thank you, all of you, for being here. I appreciate you. Like I said, this was just us trying to sit here and chill and give our appreciation to Jim Irsay for being the great, not only owner, but just in general person that we could tell, we don't know them on a personal level, but at the same time, we know what they do, not only for the team, but for the community and for the fans and things of that nature. And we appreciate that. And we just wanted to get out here and let him know. He probably won't watch this stream, but either way, if he does, this is for you. All right. Lucas, please take a moment. Let everybody know a little bit about you and where they can find you in case they don't know.
All right. Well, in case you guys have not seen me on Colts Law before or are just unfamiliar with me in general, hey, it happens. I don't know everyone in the world either. But my Twitter is @RobbinsLucas, where you'll probably find me most often. But I'm also a writer for The Blue Stable, and I've been contributing a lot to some of their podcasts as well. It's a phenomenal experience there, and you can check out thebluestable.com to see some of my articles and some of my peers' articles. We have some amazing content coming out real soon that may or may not be happening this weekend. I'll leave you in suspense for some of that. But yeah, just check us all out. It's going to be really great to interact with all of you.
Loyalist.
I'll be honest, I would like to plug Lucas a little bit more. Guys, follow him on Twitter. If you enjoy Twitter, you will find interactions and gifts galore that is amazing.
Guys, go give Loyalist a follow on Twitter. The link is in the description. Since he's not going to shout himself out, please go give him a follow. He's new to Twitter. He's my new co-host. He needs some guys to give him a follow, and so that he could probably maybe follow back. That way he get a little bit more information that's, out there in Colts Nation or the NFL world. I know a lot of you watching right now are not Colts fans. Some of you are fans of other teams. Hey, football's football. We're all fans of it, and it's just a great big group of people who enjoy watching a sport. I'm Lawrence Owen with Colts Loyalist, Lucas Robbins, and as usual, have a good one.
Just because a player's not a household name doesn't mean we can't make him a household name.